Okay. Hey, hello everyone, I'm back, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to solve a Rubik's clock. So, you don't need to know how to solve any other cubes because this puzzle is quite simple, but it wouldn't hurt knowing how to solve other cubes, even though they won't be too relevant to how to solve this. So, before solving the Rubik's clock, you need to understand how this works. So, the end goal of the clock to make sure that it's solved is to make sure that all 9 pins on both sides are facing up at 12 o'clock. And now that you know the end goal, you now need to know how to actually turn the clock. So there are 4 dials, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, that control a certain amount of dials based on what pins are pressed up and down. Now, I know that sounds very confusing all at first, but if we break it down to smaller bits, it will be a lot simpler. So, the thing is, a lot of these dials won't be too necessary because you'll only be turning one at a time. So, let me give you an example. So, if I put all of these 3 pins down, then and this pin is the only one that's up, then I can move this, and then all the dials that are connected, so that directly here, will move. And I can do the same for all the other sides. And down here, and down here. So now that you know how it works, now we can go on to two pins up at a time. So 2 pins up at a time means they both still control all the clocks. So this pin, it still controls all these 4 clocks, but this pin also controls these 4 clocks. So what that means is, since both these dials control both these pins, you can move either, and they will both have the same control over it. And if you do it with 3 pins, it'll move everything except this corner, which can only be controlled with this pin. And the same can obviously be done on this side. Okay, so now that you know how to actually move the clock around and essentially turn it, now we can go onto some solves. So these are just random scrambles. So let's just begin. So the way you solve clock is you want to assume that the center is essentially solved or in the correct place, and you want to connect it to all of these edges. So I guess I'll first match it to this edge. So the way I can do that is by pushing up the pin that controls this one, and then I can move it until both these edges are matched. Now, I need to find a pin that controls both of these. I'll give you a second to see if you can figure it out. If you said that this pin was the one that controlled both, you are correct. And using this pin, I can use it to match it to either of these 2 pins. Note that you cannot match it to this edge, because if I move this edge will move with it as well. So we have to match it to one of the 2 that aren't being controlled. So I guess I'll match it to the top, like that. And now that all 3 of these are solved, I want to match it to either of these 2. So let's match it to this one. And I'm going to push this pin up because it controls all of these pins. And now I've made all of these match. Now I will make all of these match the final clock. And now I can push all the pins up since they're all matched and move them all to 12 o'clock. And for now, just don't worry about the corners because we'll get to that on the last step. So what you want to do is you want to flip your clock around and then solve the next side. So now we can repeat the exact same process, but you have to be careful that you don't move any of these while the pins are still down, because it will mess with these clocks. So what I'm trying to say is you can only turn it when the pin is up. So first, I guess we'll match this to this clock, like so. And now that these two are matched, we can match them to this clock, like that. And now we can match, oh wow, hey, we were lucky that this one already matched. So now we can match it to this clock. And now what we can do is we can bring them all to the top. Technically you don't have to, but I just like to. And now, okay, we kind of lucked out. One of the corners is already solved, so that's quite nice. So what we would have done was we would have put all of the pins up, then we would have pressed one pin down because that controls everything except this clock. And then we would have matched to this, but it already did. So now we're going to do that for the rest of the corners. So we're going to push this down, match all of these, and now we're going to push this back up to reset it. And then I can choose either one of them. I guess I'll just choose this left one. And then I'll bring it all here. And then I'll make sure to reset. And I'll push down this pin so I can get all the other clocks to this. And then when I push all the pins up and I readjust the clock, they should all be facing 12 o'clock. And that is how you solve a clock. Thanks for watching.